today from Twisted Sister Yoga. Today we're going to talk about our hips a little bit. Hips hold so much emotion in there and so much stress. You always think it's in your neck and the back of your shoulders, but hips really have to be let go on a regular basis to let go of some of that stuff. So first we're going to start with a very basic squat. I encourage you to try a squat. Even if you don't get very far, you'll very quickly watch yourself advance. So you're going to widen your feet about 2.5 feet, turn your toes out about 45 degrees. Take your hands to heart center and begin to bring your tail down, sending your knees out to the side. You want to keep your back as straight as you can. If your heels begin to come up off the earth, that is your limit. You can even think about rolling a blanket under your heels. It'll give you a few extra inches to come down. Hook your elbows on the inside of your knees. You can open those knees up a little bit. See if you can sit a little taller and roll to the outsides of your feet. So this is a great pose to open your hips. It's great for elimination, digestion, and weight loss. So each day, see if you can practice for just a few breaths in your yogi squat. Malasana is what the Sanskrit name for this pose is, or I've also heard it called garland pose. So each day, give it a little shot, maybe when you're watching TV or on the computer. So we're gonna come out of the posture and bring ourselves down to the earth for a couple of more hip opening stretches. Very basic and simple stretches. You're gonna come to a reclined seat on your mat, hands behind you, stretched out a little bit, your feet a little bit away from the body. Go ahead and take your right ankle and cross it at the left knee. Flex that right foot and push the right knee away from you. You'll begin to feel a stretch happen in your right hip at this point. If you want to go a little more in depth, you can bring your left foot in, continuing to push that right knee away. If this is easy for you, you can try to walk your hands in a little closer, bringing your chest as close to your calf as you can get it. You really begin to feel a stretch now in that right hip. So we'll stay for a few breaths, give it the opportunity to release. I always say send your exhale out of that point of resistance and allow it to release. So you'll keep your breath moving. When you're ready to come out, you're gonna walk your hands back, send that left foot out, unwind, and then just stay for a moment in this position before you go to the other side. I'm not going to demonstrate the other side at this point, but be sure that you do both sides. What we're going to move into next is our pigeon pose, one more hip opening stretch. So I really encourage you to get a prop, whether it be a block or a pillow or a blanket. We're going to start in downward facing dog for our pigeon pose. So bring yourself up into your dog, raising your hips high, press into all of your fingers, heels towards the mat, your quads towards the wall behind you. So really press, your body's active, the weight is equal between your feet and your hands. On your inhale, go ahead and raise your left leg up into the air and send that shin across the top of the mat. So the left knee is at the left wrist, the knee's at the left wrist and the ankle towards the right wrist. If you have knee pain or injury, you should not continue on with this pose. There's alternate ways to do it on your back. We can teach you that too. So support that left hip with your block or your blanket. Begin to settle into your pelvis on the mat. You really want to melt it. Take a gaze around at your right leg. Is it heading straight out from your hip with the toes pointed away? Come to your fingertips and sink your pelvis in as you look up. A little bit of a back bend here. When you come to flat palms, I want you to think about pulling that left thigh into the hip socket. That hip will go back, the right hip will come forward a little bit, and they're on the same plane as the short edge of your mat. When you're ready, you can come down to your forearms, or a block, or maybe your fists. So you can relax into this pose. And the same thing, there's a point of resistance in your hip. You want to send the exhale right out of that point to see if you can get it to release. So this is pigeon pose, great hip opener. We like to stay here for a number of breaths, allowing it to have time. So keep your breath moving. There's no holding the breath in yoga. When you're ready, you've done enough breath, you can bring yourself back up, Come back to your fingertips again and really sink your pelvis in so you get a little extra stretch. Coming to flat palms, I want you to curl your right toes under behind you, and you're going to push back up into a three-legged dog. So when you're ready, push yourself up and bring that left leg right up into the air. Bend at the knee and send the heel towards the right hip to open up the front of that hip, your counter pose. There's always a counter pose in yoga. Then go ahead and float that leg back down. You'll prepare yourself for the other side. I'm not going to do the other side right now, but you can take your prop over to the other side, lifting your right leg and sending it forward in the same way. So make sure you do both sides. Namaste. I'll see you on the mat. Thank you for practicing with us today. This is Candace, 500-hour teacher trained in yoga. Follow the links below to find out more about our events and our classes here in Arkville, New York. Namaste.